Prayers and shopping lists are quite the same for some of us, but God doesn't always answer the way we want it to be. Welcome to God Still Moves, Testimonies of Faith, Trials, and God That Cares. I am Sam, and we have here today a very special guest, Brother Stephen McDonald from New Zealand. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good, very good, thank you.
Praise God. So tell us your story.
Well, I wondered for many years, working as a missionary worker, why it was that I'd pray to God and I'd ask for a certain outcome to take place over the next little period of time.
Yes.
And it seemed to be that God allowed the circumstances to be the complete opposite to what I had prayed. And this had happened for many, many years. And I was really wondering, why, Lord, do you allow that most opposite thing to take place that I've prayed for? One such experience that I can share was back in about 2008, and I was working over in Vietnam for a period of time. Now, I was in Ho Chi Minh City. Now, I did not know a lot about Vietnam at the time, and of course you hear all these scary stories about people
Yes.
being kidnapped or being shot or whatever else, being a Christian.
Terrorists.
So it was late at night, it was dark, and I prayed to God that God would give me a safe passage from Ho Chi Minh City all the way out to the countryside, about a 30-minute bike ride, back to my cousin's place, and to get there nice and safe. And of course, to go back there, as a taxi, we have what's called motorcycle taxi drivers. And many of the drivers there, often because you're a white-skinned person, you're a foreigner, they take advantage of you, and they like to
Yes.
charge you many times more than what they're actually worth. So I prayed to God, I said to the Lord, please, I'm so tired, God, please give me the right taxi driver that will take me back to the place, will not drive me around the whole of Ho Chi Minh City, and will get me back to my house nice and safe. And I went through about 5 different taxi drivers. This was the most I'd ever gone through in my entire time in Vietnam.
Wow.
And I was tired and I really wanted to get home. And finally this last guy says yes, he will do it. And he gave me the right price. And as he was driving around the road, I had this horrible feeling that he did not really know where he was going. Now, Ho Chi Minh City is a very, very big city. It's got many, many million people. I'm not quite sure what the population is. I had no idea what the direction was, and I was on my own. And it seemed that he had no idea either. And he was stopping and asking this person, they'd point in that direction. Then he would stop again, they'd ask in that direction. And really, we were going nowhere. And so, about 2 hours later, we got right out to the middle of the countryside. And then he got lost. And then eventually, I asked him to see if he could find an international high school, because I knew how to walk back from the high school back to the house I was staying at. It's about a 15-minute walk. So he managed to find the high school, and I was dropped off there. So from the high school, I had to walk back to the house, and there was only one passage that I knew to get back to the house. And there was a fence that I now had to climb that was about 3 meters high with barbed wire. And I was told that passage would definitely be open at that time of night. So I thought, well, I can't go through that way. I'm going to have to try and cut through a side route. And as I was trying to do that, and I kept on walking, I ended up walking at the back of somebody's house. And I felt very nervous. I started to feel like I was some kind of a burglar, you know. And then I realised that there was a security guard who was sitting at the back there who was asleep. And I thought, oh no, what am I going to do now? So in panic mode, I kept on walking. I was trying to hide behind the bush when I was finally discovered by the dog. And the dog alerted the whole street. And so I was chased by this wild dog that was about to eat me alive. And I was praying to God saying, Lord, please save me. And I ended up running into a swamp that was over my waist, and I was completely covered in mud. And I ended up climbing up to try to get back onto the roadside. The dog left me alone at this point, and I thought, well, now I'm completely covered in mud, I've got to get home. So I kept on walking down that road, and I rang up my cousin. This is the place I was staying at my cousin's house. And I asked her, I just said, look, is there any other way I can get back to your house? And she said to me, yes. Keep on walking down that road, another 20 minutes, there's another gateway. It definitely will be open, you can walk through. So I kept on walking, I found that gateway was shut. So I thought, well, this time I'm going to try and climb the gate. 3 meters high, barbed wire fence. Got onto the other side, I thought, great, I know how to get back to the house from here. And this time I was chased by another 3 dogs.
Wow.
Yard dogs. So I ran back to the fence, I jumped over the fence again, and I ended up ripping my clothing in the process. And I was really frustrated with God, saying, Lord, please, I really wanted to have a safe passage back to the house. I was so exhausted from the end of the day. So I kept on walking and walking and walking until I finally found a bridge. I thought, all I've got to do is climb down the bridge, and I could find a road, and from that road I could possibly get back to the house. To cut a long story short, I could not get down. It was too dark and it was too deep. I was going to have to walk right back the way that I came for 45 minutes and to get back to try to find a different route to get back to the house. I was praying the whole way that God would lead me and that God would guide my protection. As I was praying for protection and I was praying for guidance, 20 men on the side of the road were looking at me, and they looked very, very sinister. And one of the men came up to me with a stick, and he planted the stick right in front of my legs, and he goes, "Come with me."
Wow.
And I didn't know what to do at this point, and a second man came to me this time with a rifle. So I thought, well, I'd better go and follow these men. These 20 men took me, and I saw the back of a white truck, and I thought, they're going to ask me to get back onto the back of the white truck. And I was scared for my life, and I thought, this is going to be the day that I'm going to die. So the second man eventually had the rifle to the side of my head like this, and another guy whacked me at the back of the legs so that I had to go down. So again I was praying to God, saying, Lord, if there's ever a time where I can speak in Vietnamese, now would be a really good time for the gift of tongues. But that gift was not given. So I stood up from this experience, and they looked at me, and the guy said to me, "Where you go?" And I was trying to explain to him I need to go to my cousin's house. And I was praying really hard, and eventually he opened up the way and he let me go. I got back to my cousin's house at 2 o'clock in the morning. A lot of other things took place along that journey. I had many, many other scary encounters on the way back to the house. But when I got back there, I can remember that I had to wake up my cousin at that time, and she was working the next day. I went back to my room, and it was very noisy outside, and I really prayed to God, saying, Lord, why did you let this happen to me? And I had many experiences in my life that were the same way like this, and I really could not understand what was going on. And then one day, God gave me a strong conviction about 2 years ago. He was saying to me one time in prayer, Stephen, I was with you during all of those seemingly unanswered prayers in your life, but you did not learn the lesson. I wanted you to trust on me for everything. Not to trust in your circumstances, not to trust by sight, not to trust by feeling. You were to trust on me because I am the bread of life. I will sustain you through everything. And I realized in life sometimes we will pray to God for a certain outcome, but we expect to have everything else around us to fit that particular outcome. And I needed to go by faith alone.
What a wonderful story, sir. So, do you have any special message to those people who have the same experience with you right now?
Yes, I do. When you are asking for God for a special request in your life, we always will sell ourselves short in what we ask to God. But God doesn't want to just answer the prayer that we have asked for. He wants us to give the very, very best possible outcome for the prayer that we have asked. And sometimes that means that we are not going to see the prayer answered in the way that we expect. So my prayer for you personally is this: do not give up on the arm of the Lord too soon. We give up on God too soon, and that's often why our prayers do not seem to get answered. We must keep on praying and keep on praying and keep on praying. One day we will see the true fruit of the prayer that we have just prayed. God does hear your prayers. God does answer prayers. But He will answer it and according to the best possible outcome that can be. And this is the promise I want to give to you today. God says in His Word in Jeremiah 29 verse 11, "For I know the plans that I have for you, saith the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." God knows the very end. We cannot see the very end. Do not give up on God. He is always there with you, even when, and especially when, you cannot see Him, you cannot feel Him, you cannot experience Him.
Friends, God doesn't always answer prayers according to what we see or what we feel, but always far greater than what we can possibly imagine. Always remember, God still moves.